Oh, man, is it only 11 o'clock? I'm taking a tea break. Oh, this is gross. Did I really not have time to throw this in the garbage? Oh, well, might as well clean these up and get a new one. Oh, this is great. Is your office like this? Oh, geez, no wonder we're still using paper cups. All right, let's see if we got some tea. Oh, yeah, tons of coffee. And there's no tea. Of course not. Oh, yeah. Oh, here we go. Yes, sir. I hate it when people do that. Ah, well, you know what? Might as well just get one to go. Since the beginning of time, humankind has been pitted against all kinds of obstacles, things that have challenged us and ultimately defined who we are. And over the years, heck, we've become amazingly adept at problem solving. Of course, modern life continues to throw new obstacles at us. I guess that's what we call progress. And so why, with all these challenges ahead, are we stuck on the one we're sure to lose? The age-old and eternal fight against time.
That adage that I think originated from Benjamin Franklin, that time is money, is not true, because when you run out of money, you're poor. When you run out of time, you're dead.
Well, that's reason enough to make the most of the time we've got, yes?
Maintenant, on exige, on est à flux tendu, on est zéro délai. Il faut répondre en temps réel. Il faut être dans l'immédiateté, dans l'instantanéité.
So, sitting down for coffee or whatever gets you going is no longer part of the plan. No time for that. Ironically, this thing here, that maybe best epitomizes our need for speed, originally had nothing to do with time.
The disposable cup wasn't invented to save time. It was invented to save lives.
We'll get to know why and how that came about in just a bit. But the point is, like so many other inventions, it was soon hijacked and repurposed to become an everyday, take-it-for-granted, to-go thing that suddenly went far beyond its initial objective.
We've convinced ourselves that to-go cups is something we need to make better use of our time.
Go, go, go! Catch the bus, drop off the kids, pick up that dry cleaning, get to the gym, jump on that Zoom.
Now, suddenly you're on the go and you're combining activities, you're trying to speed things up. That's by nature the idea of a to-go cup, is to speed up that whole process.
Look, we each only get about 692,000 hours on this earth. We're gonna spend more than a year of that just trying to fall asleep, and another 91 days just getting ready to leave the house.
On pense au temps, on pense à l'optimisation du temps, et donc on a toujours le sentiment de ne pas être dans le bon tempo.
C'est vrai qu'on est sous l'emprise de ce temps qui va limiter notre vie sur Terre.
Wow, that's deep. Why don't we put the kettle on, have a nice cup of tea, and proper chat about how this became this, that turned into this, and perhaps ask ourselves what it's all about. Is it all really just a question of time? In the early 1800s, Americans, and well, probably a lot of other people, drank more booze than any time before or after. The US and parts of Europe found themselves in a moral panic and turned to the religious and anti-alcohol temperance societies for help.
The temperance movement was going around from bar to bar, city to city, with these big wagons full of barrels of water. And they were trying to get people who were drinking to give up the alcohol and drink water instead.
Now, the problem was, very often, they only had one cup to serve everyone, to hand out all that delicious party water. That's where this guy comes in. That's Lawrence Llewellyn, a Boston lawyer. Clearly, Larry had chosen the wrong calling. He was born to be an inventor.
Lawrence Llewellyn saw that people were drinking from communal cups, bowls, and ladles. They weren't washing them between each use, so people were spreading diphtheria and worse diseases. People were dying because they were sharing cups.
And so, in 1907, he comes up with something called the health cup, which would later become the legendary Dixie cup. The rest, as they say, is history. The disposable cup was born. Drink, toss, repeat. But the idea didn't really take off until the Spanish flu swept the world in 1918, killing anywhere between 50 and 100 million people. In the worst-case scenario, that's 1/20th of the global population at the time. From here on, trust me, you were not sharing a cup. And anyways, at one point, you simply couldn't.
Suddenly, communal cups were called death cups. There were laws passed against them. And disposable paper cups were the way of the future, the way to save lives.
The disposable cup was here to stay. And, well, be thrown out after every single use. And it wasn't long before convenience replaced hygiene in its objective. Suddenly, it was playing a new role in our growing need for time efficiency. Of course. But wait, the real time saver in all of this wasn't the cup. Nope. It was a much-needed lid. That was the game changer, for, well, obvious reasons. It took a while, but some bright spark eventually cracked it.
In 1967, a man from Philadelphia invented the first tearaway plastic lid. So you'd take the lid, you tear a little hole in it, and you could drink from it.
This unsuspecting hero's name was Alan Frank, and his timing could not have been better.
In the 1950s, when Dwight Eisenhower signed the Federal Highway Act into law, he didn't just create car culture and suburbs, he changed the way we actually drink. Americans became commuters, and that meant they needed fast food restaurants, convenience stores, places where they could just drive in, get a cup of coffee to go, and drive out again. That's why the disposable cup became so important.
Okay, so America's always been a country on the go, in a rush, in a hurry. But the rest of the world was surely still stopping to smell the coffee beans, right?
Starbucks, pour moi, était un exemple intéressant parce que quand Starbucks a voulu s'implanter en France, je me suis dit, ça va pas marcher. Et je m'étais trompée. Starbucks est bien implanté en France et il y a beaucoup de Starbucks en France. Et du coup, on a vu une transformation de la culture du café avec l'arrivée des gobelets jetables.
And this, as we now know, happened all around the world.
Every continent, every country has some form of disposable cup that they use and rely upon almost every single day.
To the tune of about 500 billion cups a year. You want me to say that again? 500 billion. You can't do that sort of math on your fingers, so let me tell you. That would work out to almost 70 disposable cups for every single person on the planet. Every year, year after year. So what if we translate that into time? Let's say the to-go cup saves us what? If you factor in the making of, the waiting for, the sitting down to drink whatever it is you're drinking, then the washing and the drying and the putting away of the cup and the teapot or the coffee pot, that's at least 15 minutes. Sound about right? Let's imagine that every single person on the planet does grab 70 drinks to go every year. That's 531,580 million to go, please. And we've estimated that each person is saving about 15 minutes with each order. What is that, like a gazillion? 8,505,280,000,000 minutes. Wow. Anyone else find that disturbing? Are these cups actually warping time? And hey, what are we going to do with all these minutes? Are we generating more possibilities or more responsibilities? 8,505,280,000,000 minutes. What are you planning to do with your share of all that free time? Watch 35 movies? Finally repaint the house? Sleep for 3 entire days? Solve world hunger? Yeah, probably not.
You have to be careful that you're not speeding things up so much that you now are in a rushed, hurried mindset. You know, you might find that you are having a very relaxed day. It's just a leisurely day, but when you get the coffee, you kind of might put yourself in an on-the-go mindset, and you might suddenly start to feel time stress. And that doesn't really reflect reality, but now you're in that kind of mindset.
Whoa. So we're saying that the very thing that is supposed to be saving us time also makes us feel like we have less of it? How is that possible? And here's another question. Without the disposable cup, would global coffee and tea consumption be anywhere close to what it is today? So, America introduced the to-go cup to the rest of the world. And maybe the catchphrase, you want that for here or to go?
If you think about it, disposable cups are a no-brainer. You don't have to store them on a shelf. You don't have to find space for them in your cupboard. You just drink it once, forget about it, and you never have to worry about it again. It's a very tempting idea to any human being. It's no wonder that it caught on so quickly and it became so widespread.
Widespread doesn't even begin to describe it. Yes, most companies are moving towards a more sustainable and environmentally friendly way to serve you your to-go liquids. But it doesn't change the fact that our lives kind of revolve around the mobile option.
They say necessity is the mother of invention, but history proves that it's usually the other way around. Usually inventions create the necessity, so we didn't really need fridges until ice boxes were considered out of date. We could have probably gone on without a lot of things we have now that we take for granted. But when it comes to the disposable cup, it's hard to say. To a certain degree, it's a little bit of both.
For the moment, there are more than 32,000 Starbucks in 80 countries around the world. And yearly, they're making about 6 billion coffees to go. And they're handing out more than 8,000 paper cups a minute. But there's no time to let that sink in, because Dunkin' Donuts is also selling roughly 60 cups every second, about 2 billion cups a year at its 12,500 restaurants in 46 countries. McDonald's comes in with about another billion. And then there's Tim Hortons, Costa Coffees, Cafe Nero in Europe, and Pete's Coffee. See those numbers adding up? And of course, each country has its domestic chain of coffee shops. You have your favorite local cafe, and I have mine. And well, they have theirs. Now imagine all the coffee vending machines around the world, because about 11% of all the coffee served worldwide is in fact dispensed by a machine. So many of us just do it. We don't even think about it, really. Fancy a coffee, or a tea, or a soda, or whatever on your way to wherever? No problem. Can't be bothered to wash the mug on your desk? Just pop down to the cafeteria. They've got plenty of clean, single-use cups for you. And that, my friends, is how we reach the surreal number of more than 500 billion plastic and paper cups a year. I wonder how many of those are forgotten here. And here. By the way, don't kid yourself. It's not the dark roast you're paying for. It's the convenience of the chance to stay on the go, to never stop, to do more stuff. Well, with your other hand, I guess. The coffee itself only costs the coffee shop about 16 cents. Throw in the cup, the lid, the stirrer, and the napkin, and it's still only about 32 cents. How much did you pay for yours this morning? How much was that convenience worth? $4? 2.5 euros? And that's before a tip, right? Well, that once a weekday habit, and let's face it, you're probably more of a 2 cups a day person, adds up to more than $1,000 a year. And remember, most of that isn't even for the coffee. Wouldn't it make more sense to drink it at home?
What the to-go cup does is reduces dramatically the need for space in the coffee shop. So you can suddenly serve a large number of people from a kiosk. You can serve them from a drive-through because they don't need anywhere to sit. You just give them the to-go cup and off they go. So it changes the economics of coffee.
Yep, the disposable cup business is big business. The global market size is measured in billions of dollars, lots of billions. And with our never-ending quest for more and more convenience, it's expected to rise by another billion in just a few years. And then there's the coffee itself. Around 10 billion kilograms, 22 billion pounds, is produced and consumed worldwide each year. And that's likely to go up as well. However you look at it, the disposable cup, thanks to Lawrence Llewellyn, has contributed to coffee becoming one of our most important traded commodities. Right in there with petroleum, wheat, gold, and copper. Today, coffee is produced in over 50 countries around the world and has at least partially redefined their economies. Transporting coffee beans from here to here and from here to here, of course, requires lots of shipbuilding and petroleum burning. And that takes time, and money, and people, and, well, cups, of course, all just to keep us caffeinated and on the move.
You see it everywhere, right? It's a compression, of course, of space-time. I could do something in between. I should not waste my time drinking a coffee. I can do it on the go. So it's the to-go culture everywhere.
And everything. If it can be poured, it can be drunk on the move. Tea and soda and milkshakes and smoothies and hot chocolate and bubble tea. And in some places, beer, wine, cocktails, and shooters. And they come in every size. Shorts, talls, grandes, venti, trentas. And then there are the gulps. Big gulps, super big gulps, and double gulps.
Every drink you can think of can come in a disposable cup. In the late 90s, we started seeing special plastic cups with those domes that were just for bubble tea, which became hugely popular in East Asia than the rest of the world.
According to one study, Southeast Asians drink on average about 4 cups each a month, mostly on the go. Let's do the math on that. 2,698,560,412 cups of bubble tea a month, give or take a few, just in this part of the world. I get why we embrace utilitarian technologies like dishwashers and vacuum cleaners, washing machines and microwaves. Heck, who wants to waste precious time on chores? But why has time become so sanctified that the art of tea is now squeezed in between, well, what?
Some of this time perception is starting to meld together across different cultures now that we have kind of a more global sort of interaction with the world.
Well, that makes sense. If there are 24 hours in every day for every person, and if we're all on the same clock, give or take a few hours here and there, well, I guess we're all sort of competing for how to make use of that time.
There's a lot of people out there who are trying to reduce the amount of time people spend on things. They're trying to fix the time famine problem through objective time measures. They're trying to tell people, don't be so busy, be less busy. Or here's some technology that actually cuts real time, and saves real time.
But is it working? Or has Llewellyn's invention all been a large cup of waste of time to go, please? What are you doing right now? I mean, besides watching this show. How many times has your phone alerted you to a new email, text message, or Instagram like in the last 30 minutes? How many to-do lists are you juggling in your head right now? Groceries and laundry and parent-teacher night and orthodontic appointments. That hedge needs cutting back and you really should carve out some time to see your parents this weekend, but you have that work thing. Oh, maybe they could take the kids. Oh, but that means an extra hour each way on the highway. When did it happen? When did we all get so busy?
Think about in the Middle Ages or the Renaissance period. Think about what someone who sat around and didn't have to do anything and did nothing and were very idle, that must be a rich, important, wealthy person. Look how little they're doing, right? Look at all the spare time they have to do nothing in. That was what status was. That is not what status is today. And if you ask people what is high status, it is being very busy.
And this little cup here has become quite the status image in a world where being busy equals success, and where success is often measured by how much money you have.
Time is our most valuable resource. It's the one thing everyone needs, everything needs, but we can't steal it, we can't make more of it, and we can't cheat it. The coffee cup lets us get some of that time back, for now.
Or so we think.
Disposable cups sound like a great time saver until you realize that most people are going out of their way to their favorite cafe, lining up outside the cafe to get inside. Then they have to wait for some idiot to order a double espresso macchiato with double soy milk, who changes his mind and orders something else instead.
Yes. How much time do we waste behind that person? But hang on. Can we ever really waste time these days? Like, ever? How can we? We're returning emails and banking online in bed, checking the weather and texts from the bathtub, listening to the latest podcast or audiobook while making dinner. We're multitasking all the time. We're piling up the things we do, or the things we can or could do, or should do. Do we multitask because we have to? Because a day's work no longer fits in a day? Or do we do more because the disposable cup and all its ilk has freed up so much time? Is it the chicken or is it the egg? Because I'll tell you, I know people who actually double book themselves all the time, relying on at least one of those commitments to be canceled, probably because that person double booked too. We just can't seem to catch a break. There are statistics that prove it. People who use a computer for work are distracted at least every 8 minutes. That's what? About 50, 60 disturbances a day? Let's say each one takes about 5 minutes to manage. That means that we're spending about 4 hours every day just managing those interruptions. Get this. About half of all students admit to using their devices for things that have nothing to do with the class they're in. And all those social gatherings, where the vast majority of people spend more time on their phones than they do actually interacting? Oh, you never do that? Well, I beg to differ. The average person checks their phone about 58 times a day. But you're getting stuff done, right? Getting loads done. You're on top of things.
On sait très bien qu'en psychologie cognitive, il n'est pas bon de faire deux choses à la fois, parce qu'on a des capacités cognitives qui sont limitées. Si on fait plusieurs choses à la fois, ou si on est multitâche, on n'est pas performant dans chacune des tâches.
In fact, I'm told that only 2.5% of the population can successfully multitask. The rest of us are actually losing productivity by up to 40%. 40%, people. So why do we all do it? Are we just pretending to be uber efficient? Who are we trying to impress?
Donc il y a l'idée qu'il est important de ralentir pour faire les choses correctement. Mais en même temps, il ne faut pas non plus trop ralentir. Parce que si on ralentit trop, la société, elle va aller plus vite que nous. Et si on ralentit trop, on risque d'être totalement exclu. Et si la société va très vite, eh bien on est mis sur le côté comme une vache qui regarde le train passer.
Well, that's quite the catch-22 we've created for ourselves.
So on one hand, you have societal pressure to be busy. On the other hand, you feel like I have no time, I'm going to burst, I can't take it anymore, I'm miserable because of this busy trap that I have myself in.
The paradox here is that we supposedly have more expediency than ever. But doesn't it sometimes feel like even the inventions and technologies that were designed to speed us up are actually slowing us down? Remember those drive-thrus that were saving Americans so much time in the 60s? Well, Since 2018, the average wait time at a U.S. drive-thru has increased by about 20 seconds from speaker to pickup window, with most customers waiting about 255 seconds. Now, sure, most of you are saying 20 seconds more, who cares? But add all that time up, and that means that even if all you're grabbing is a coffee at a drive-thru every morning on a 260-day work year, you're spending about 18 hours every year in that drive-thru lane. And you can't change your mind once you're in that lineup, can you? Just as waiting is a part of life, so is coming up with solutions to reduce that wait, to minimize delays and maximize time and productivity.
What's so interesting about these technologies is trying to conquer time. It's trying to make us faster, make our waiting faster, but ultimately, we're still living the years and the life that we're gonna live. So when you're waiting, it feels like it's expanding, it's taking forever.
And so along with the technology, increasingly research is focusing on the psychology behind waiting. One study, for example, shows that if there are more than 6 people waiting in line, we're more reluctant to join it. But if we join the queue and others join after us, we're probably staying, even if the wait time exceeds the optimal 5 minutes and 54 seconds, which is when our satisfaction drops from 95% to 85% and down to about 55% once we've been standing in line for 8 minutes. 8 minutes? I'd be long gone after 2. But of course, this all depends on the desirability of what's at the end of the queue. We're far more likely to line up for the release of a limited edition pair of sneakers than we are to pay our bills at the ATM. And we'll do it all with a cup in hand, of course.
The to-go cup doesn't inject the caffeine into your body any quicker. It's not like you drink the cup of coffee faster. It's that you drink the cup of coffee while you're doing something else, while you're walking, while you're working. The coffee or the tea is now accompanying you in whatever else you were doing. Now, whether you regard that as a time saver depends on whether you feel that the time that previously you would have spent sitting and sipping coffee was time well spent or just time wasted. And I think the shift in our attitude to, sitting in a cafe is just a waste of time is a really interesting one.
And that's what it all comes down to, really, isn't it? That nobody wants to waste time, so we're all busy filling it with whatever we can get our hands or minds on. And if we can take it with us, even better. The truth is, we've come to expect everything to be portable. Phones and food, printers and fridges, stoves and playpens and kayaks and speakers and vacuum cleaners.
The innovation is only as good as the extent that you actually feel that it has saved you time. So if it starts to become more of a problem, then you might have to sit back and reevaluate whether or not the to-go cup is the best idea, or whether you can separate yourself from associating it with being on the go and always having to go and hurry as fast as you can.
Because what on earth is so pressing on a 7-day all-inclusive beach holiday in Cuba that you need a 32-ounce travel mug? Or step onto a cruise ship and the first thing they'll hand you is a refillable cup. Sure, it's more convenient for the staff. Imagine having to wash 6,000 cups 4 times a day. The question is, does it save you time? Between wandering from the buffet to the pool, back to your cabin, and I guess to the pool again maybe, what are you saving time for? To watch the waves? Again?
When you take an elevated view of time, there isn't a race, right? It's your life as a whole. And I guess it creates an opportunity to be more patient with yourself, while also not wasting moments within it. We can't do everything in every moment, which is, I think, sometimes this expectation. Whereas when we sort of pull back and actually see that there's lots of moments, there's lots of opportunities to live out those various dimensions of ourselves, there's time for it to happen. It doesn't all have to happen right now.
Yeah, but if you're banking on every moment saved to save another moment down the road, what happens when there's a glitch in the sequence? And what if we suddenly couldn't do everything on the go? Look, drinking is essential to survival. It's also one of the oldest forms of human interaction and socialization. And yet, even though in many places around the world the working hours have fallen, research shows that most people are spending less than an hour each day seeing friends or eating and drinking and chatting and, well, being together. Now, time can be broken down into all sorts of parcels. But the two that experts say most define our perception of it are discretionary and obligatory time.
There is a difference between time that we are forced to spend and time that we choose to spend. So we have discretionary time and we have more obligatory time. And discretionary time is extremely important because having a sense of control over how we spend our time is important for our well-being.
So, if we look at our handy graph here, no, not that one. Yes, that one. Which countries enjoy the most minutes a day of discretionary time? Norway's clocking in with some 369 minutes. What? That's 6 hours. When's the last time you had 6 hours to yourself? Spain, Greece, and Finland are all coming in at more than 5 hours a day. Italy's up there with 323 minutes. And there's a pattern here, folks. Take the Finns. They rank #1 on the global happiness scale. They have the world's most flexible 40-hour work week, and they also happen to be the heaviest coffee drinkers in the world. 8 or 9 cups a day. And guess what? They're not taking it to go. Maybe not surprisingly, Italy has the most cafes in Western Europe, with about 58,000, and ordering to go there is an insult bordering on the personal. In France, people watching could be considered a national sport, and hours-long rendezvous on a terrace aren't unusual. Then there are the coffee houses of Turkey, matcha ceremonies in Japan, the tea breaks in the UK, samovars in Russia, tea stands in India. Clearly, it is possible to sit and interact over a cup of coffee or tea. So why do so many of us see this and think, where do they find the time?
Ralentir ne veut pas dire être passif. L'idée, c'est qu'il faut trouver un bon ajustement pour continuer à vivre dans cette société, pour que cette société se calme un peu, que le rythme respecte plus les rythmes naturels des individus. Il n'est pas question de revenir, au rythme des paysans et ne vivre qu'au rythme du lever du soleil et du coucher de soleil. La vie a changé. Il faut en fait trouver tout simplement un bon équilibre.
Sure, but none of this is new. We humans have always been on the move. And not to take anything away from Lawrence Llewellyn, but he didn't exactly invent the idea of drinking on the go. Yes, the Dixie cup was a step up from drinking out of skulls or pigs' bladders, but he wasn't even the first to invent paper cups.
That was the Tang Dynasty of China. They invented these teacups made of paper that were folded, decorated. They came in different colors.
In fact, one of the oldest portable drinking vessels, the gourd, is still in use in many South American countries. Yerba is a tea that comes from the yerba mate plant. It's embedded in Uruguay's culture and as much a part of their day-to-day lives as coffee to go in the morning elsewhere in the world. Probably more so. Around 85% of the population here drinks yerba daily, consuming nearly 10 kilos per person per year.
It's very interesting. They do all of their activities with the mate here and the thermos with the hot water.
That's right. Here in Uruguay, they're not just drinking tea on the go, they're making it on the go. People grab their yerba, their mate, bombilla, and a thermos of hot water with them whenever they leave the house.
Yeah, and they drive with it, and they go to work with it. And one thing very interesting about that is that, for example, if you go to the beach in the summer, in France, for example, I'm used in the beach, you have people coming here and they sell you ice cream, cold sodas, or things like that. But here, the guys who pass, they provide hot water for the mate when it's really hot outside on the beach. So this is really an incredible thing. Not anywhere in Uruguay where you go, whatever the weather, wherever you need to find hot water for your mate. This is the must.
Whether you're shopping or working, studying, riding the bus, or even your bike, yep, any time is mate time in Uruguay. Well, it was. Part of the tradition of drinking yerba mate is sharing the cup with friends and sometimes even strangers. But just as the Spanish flu put a stop to the communal cups in 1918, the COVID-19 pandemic encouraged Uruguayans to keep their gourds to themselves. It's a trend that the whole world had to adopt.
By 2028, the industry expects the global disposable cup industry to increase by 7%, much of it because of the pandemic.
That's an extra 35 billion of these, on top of the $500 billion we're already using. Just as we're starting to reduce our dependence on single-use cups and stirrers and straws and everythings.
It's okay to want to be a better person. We all want to be better people. We all probably have a reusable cup at home or more, and we probably still use to-go containers, to-go cups every once in a while. It's easy. So whether or not we have the actual option of not using disposable cups is a good question. If you try to go an entire year without using a disposable cup, you would probably find it almost impossible.
But what if we did? Stop all this, I mean. Well, we'd need a few million more coffee shops, and coffee machines, and baristas, and coffee mugs, and way more dishwashers, and time. I mean, look around you, right now. Is anyone slowly walking down the street, or sitting on a park bench, just taking it all in? Yeah, probably not. It's all to-go action all the time, right? It's okay, don't worry. I'm not gonna chastise you about how each of your to-go cups adds to the environmental chaos that we've created through our culture of convenience. You've got a friend or a lover or a parent or a celebrity or a local politician to do that. Heck, you've even got that stranger who gives you the side eye each time you exit the cafe with a disposable cup in hand. Nor am I going to point out that the sound of crunching plastic or crumpling paper cups is as much a part of the soundscape at festivals, parties, baseball stadiums, concerts as the event itself. I will point out, though, that it can take up to 6 weeks to clean up after a festival like Coachella in the States. And in the UK, more than 23,500 tons of waste is created at music festivals, the same weight as about 78 fully loaded Boeing 737s.
Alors même si certains essayent de passer aux gobelets recyclables, vous sortez de cette salle de concert et vous avez des tas de gobelets en plastique par terre qui sont autant de reliquats de la consommation de bière qui a été effectuée pendant le concert.
Yep, we've pretty much established that we're not about to stop drinking on the move, especially these days. But for those of us who really want those extra few minutes without feeling guilty, we could add that reusables are expensive to buy, inconvenient, annoying to carry around, a pain to wash, and nearly impossible to remember with a busy on-the-go schedule.
A world without a to-go cup, you'd see a lot less trash on the streets. You'd see a lot more coffee stains on people's pants and shirts. You'd probably see a cleaner earth, but more time spent at home making coffee.
And for all you minute-pinching, clock-watching, mobile hydrators out there, there's even more. Dishwashing, through water use, detergent, energy, and wastewater processing, can make up to 90% of the life cycle emissions of a reusable cup. And get this, on the face of it, disposable cups are quicker and easier on the environment to make than reusable cups. That is, if you're only using your reusable cup once. Use it at least 20 times and you've made up for its complete cradle-to-grave impact. That's easy enough. But those sliding top reusable bottles, they contain over 933,000 colony-forming units of bacteria, CFUs. Here's some perspective for you. Toilet bowls have about 172 CFUs per square inch, meaning that slide-top water bottle you're using, it's about 5,000 times more contaminated. Ugh, gross. But come on, nobody can seriously argue that a single-use cup is the more environmentally sound way to go.
People like to say to themselves that I can just toss this paper cup in a paper recycling container and I should be good, right? Carbon neutral. The problem is that the paper is actually lined with plastic, which makes the cup almost completely unrecyclable. So we're talking about cups that go into a landfill, never get recycled.
And not just a few cups either.
Only 1/4% of those coffee cups are actually recycled.
Well, hang on, that can't be right. Only 1/4% of the 500 billion are recycled? So that means 498 billion of them end up in a landfill somewhere every year? Oh boy, what a mess. And all the disposable lids, disposable stirrers, disposable sleeves, disposable straws. In fact, pretty much everything about your coffee, tea, soda, or milkshake is disposable, including your time and, cha-ching, your income, apparently.
Donc il y a une vraie bataille dans ce que vous faites pour essayer de prendre le temps et le rapport au temps comme étant l'illustration de toutes les contradictions de la société hypermoderne dans laquelle nous sommes.
And as long as we're talking about this, I should mention that 1 million tons of virgin paper, 32 million trees, some that took as long as 10 years to grow, are cut down each year to make paper cups.
Donc il y a quelque chose dans le système qui ne va pas, et donc il faut retrouver ce qui fait sens pour faire cette harmonie entre les logiques économiques, les logiques existentielles, et puis cette question de la valeur, c'est-à-dire qu'est-ce qui a vraiment de la valeur. Et c'est pour ça que le débat par rapport à la planète est tellement important, parce qu'il y a quelque part quelque chose d'absolument incontournable sur la préservation de la planète.
But change is hard. It takes time. Research suggests, on average, about 66 days, in fact, for a new habit to form. And the harder the ask, the longer it takes. It's not our fault. But that's just not a good enough excuse, is it now? Maybe we should be looking to Japan, where most eaters and drinkers on the go return at the end of the day with a bag full of wrappers, bottles, and cups to recycle. Or France, that became the first country to announce a ban on the 4.6 billion disposable cups it was throwing out each year. Or maybe all of those places where, if you happen to forget your reusable cup, and let's face it, that struggle is real, you can rent one with a small deposit and simply return it to any of the participating cafes across the city. Well, it's a start, I guess, but we're going to have to pick up the pace. So how do we do that? And where will we find the time?
It's impossible to say where we're going to go, but we have some good clues. One of them is that sustainability is a major issue for everyone now. So we're seeing more and more inventors come up with cups that are more recyclable than they used to be. In terms of saving time, it's not clear exactly where the time savings would come from at this point.
That might be a problem. I mean, I don't know anyone who's not in a rush. Do you? Because I'd sure like to meet them. So looking forward, will our obsession with time efficiency trump all our good intentions? When Llewellyn came up with the disposable cup in an effort to stop the spread of disease, he likely didn't think it would become one of the most ubiquitously used time-saving inventions. Although, to be fair, he probably didn't expect it to be vilified as one of the greatest threats to the planet either. And at this point in the show, I don't know about you, but I'm not convinced of either claim.
For me, I don't think there's any such thing as a good or a bad invention. There are always trade-offs, but of course nobody can think clearly and consciously about every trade-off. A lot of these have to be made subconsciously, and we're not always going to make the right decision.
What we do know for sure is that there are a lot of people spending a lot of time trying to figure it out for us. There are incentivizing programs that slap a tax on disposable cups or give a discount for bringing your own. There are coffee cup-only recycling bins and bubble tea receptacles in Tokyo, dedicated pickup services, and countless new cup designs and materials in development: wood, bamboo, bioplastics, and fully compostables. There are also strides being made in edible to-go cups, with 7.7 billion disposal units, that's us humans, already in place, and billions more on the way. They're using edible materials like seaweed and sugarcane and cornstarch. Or how about a flat white in your biscuit cup? It could be the way forward. I mean, you may think that this is ludicrous, but there is, or there was, the whole soup in a bread bowl trend. And of course, there's the taco bowl and the ice cream cone. Maybe with the growing freelance economy, we're less in the market for a to-go cup than we've ever been during the rise and boom of office culture. For many people, the cafe is the office. A coffice.
The world does not stay the same. This is very important when you look back historically. The self-observation of modernity has always been concerned with time. We live in a highly dynamic world when you never know how things will be tomorrow. You have to relearn how to do things every couple of years, right? And that's a kind of new cultural experience.
This was true even before the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic turned entire business sectors into work-from-homers. And by the way, even greater multitaskers. Folding laundry with the Zoom camera off, prepping dinner on a conference call, babysitting with a deadline looming. If, as predicted, those numbers increase and we're all dividing our work between homes and offices, will our need to grab a drink on our way to somewhere diminish? Will we actually and paradoxically save time from not drinking on the go? Have we been chasing the wrong time-saving dream this whole time?
It's impossible to tell where we're going to go with disposable cups, but it seems like it's here to stay. The market's growing, people aren't really stopping their use of it, and it's just too convenient. It saves too much time, and it's too easy for us. If you were a betting man, you would probably say that our grandchildren will be using disposable cups as well.
Certainly looks that way. Because look, as humans, we tackle time head-on. We always have. We've chopped it up into units that we can then try to manipulate, to maximize, and to be able to look back on and possibly forward to plan and predict, to schedule and store and spend and save. And let's face it, we're not going to do all that sitting at our kitchen table or at the local cafe.
Mais il y a une prise de conscience. Il y a quand même une prise de conscience parce qu'en plus, les jeunes ont quand même vraiment une prise de conscience sur la dégradation de l'environnement. Et je pense que prendre conscience qu'il n'y a pas seulement mon temps à moi, mais un temps social, un temps naturel, un temps de l'environnement, serait un progrès important pour les individus.
When you put it that way, those few minutes we might be saving with the to-go cup seem to pale in comparison with what we're losing. All right, here we go. How am I going to do this? Damn it. Oh, great. Okay, you stay. Good tea. Oh, come here, you. You know what? Maybe we don't always need coffee or tea to be on the go. Maybe we can save a few trees or stop feeding this high-speed monster we've created. Oh, great. Now I gotta take time to go to the car wash. Oh, but they do have some pretty cool vending machines.